let me get out my notes. All right, so I'll give a little context because it's always helpful for everyone, even those who have been here, and also for you, Kathy, coming in. Our activities to date have been all revolving around the idea of investigating and gathering raw materials for the creative process of building a brand. And for the first few classes that we did, we were working with words and with writing and thinking and dreaming and just doing a lot of exploring, just kind of pot stirring for the kinds of things that will translate, that we want to translate into visual images.
Okay.
And then none of that, you don't even have to have looked at any of that to enjoy today. So we've started the process of translating to imagery, but before getting too analytical about that or trying to be too literal or linear about that, we're just putting some attention on creative process itself and making sure we have open channels to open creative processes that we can use. So we've explored mind mapping and kind of visual brainstorming. And we've talked a lot about how to create. We've made Pinterest boards and looked at them. No problem, Ladon. And the Pinterest board was really about like generating a lot of visual ideas and just kind of seeing through our own eyes, like what kinds of visual worlds appear when we just collect lots and lots of things that we love. And we've worked on creating assignments that are, for each person unique, but assignments that tap into ways of creating that are both easy for us and allow us to dive into visual things that we love. And all of this understanding that while we may not be able to say exactly why what we're doing right now is specifically important to our brand itself, that the cultivation of a visual voice is happening, or the becoming aware of parts of our visual voice that we've always had. Like that's kind of what's happening right now. And in the meantime, it seems like people are having specific ideas about visual branding, which is fun too. So once, as we just get all this stuff to a good boil, that's when we go into starting to say, okay, let's start creating prototypes for the branding itself, and for branded marketing and things like that. But this stuff has to be at a boil first. So today is the first of two of possibly many, but right now two, gatherings where we create while we're on the call. And I very loosely guide that process by just continually giving prompts and ideas that you can mess with, dive into, ignore, branch off of, etc. But it's meant to reduce that or eliminate that feeling of isolation when you're trying to get started creatively. It can be really useful to just have somebody giving you prompts. And today's, I wanted everyone just to bring a camera, and I want to take a moment to find out what kinds of cameras you guys have brought, if it's iPhones in particular or other kinds of digital cameras, or yeah. So we've got, what kind do you have, Kathy?
I brought my iPhone.
Okay, cool.
iPhone 8.
Great. You too, Ladon. Okay, cool. I still have an iPhone 6, so I'm real lo-fi over here.
Well, sometimes like the older ones are better. I can't remember so I think I have mine. Yeah. I think the 8's not so great, which kind of ticks me off.
But the 8 has portrait mode, and it has that thing where you can make the background black. I think they each have new features that the other ones don't have, but then there's pros and cons to each.
Yeah.
You can do all kinds of amazing things with all of them. So
yeah, well, they're easy to use. That's the
yeah. So as I draw you along through these prompts today, what I have in mind is I'm not that concerned with subject matter. I want this to be I want you to get to have epiphanies, like visual epiphanies, just with the random stuff that you have around you already, or the magical things that you have around you already. We all probably have a mixture, right? But to get to see, to have creative breakthroughs doesn't require major changes in setting or stuff available, right? You can have like major breakthroughs in a little room with nothing in it. So, and so I want you to let your relationship to objects and spaces inspire you and guide you. But I'm going to focus more on the kind of formal and visual aspects of things and not worry too much about subject matter. So I encourage none of you to spend too much time like kind of going around your house or your workplace looking for some perfect object, because it's not really going to be about that today. And also keep in mind, I'm not an expert in the technical aspects of photography or even iPhone photography. Like, I don't tend to use a lot of apps or filters or anything like that, because what's most exciting and interesting to me, which is not better or worse than someone who focuses on the more technical aspects of magic that can happen with photography, I'm really interested in all the stuff that can happen just in the space between me and the camera. And some other people are more interested in what happens between the image from the camera and then what technology can do to it. And it's just all this incredible continuum of magical tools. So what I'm going to guide you through today is actually like nothing too wild or unusual. Like if you were to Google, ways to shake up and invent and play with camera photography, you'd find probably, 50 pages of similar ideas. The importance is just doing them, because it's just, it's the things that get us started on seeing the world a little differently, and, having visual epiphanies can be pretty simple. So, and I'm going to do this stuff along with you all. I hope everybody's charged. I just realized right before the call that I had to actually charge my phone. Okay. So get out your cameras. Any questions or comments before we start? And you're all welcome to just talk whenever you want to talk. This can be as chatty as we want it to be.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead and choose if you want to do rectangle or square or something else. I don't know about these iPhone 8s. Maybe you can do trapezoids or something.
So, oh, I see. You can choose you could choose square and it'll be a square. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So you get to choose your format.
I'm gonna do square because I've never used it.
So we'll start with a little warm up, just sitting where we are, and then I'll make you get up and move around and do things. And this is going to be selfie play. Our warm up is going to be selfie play, okay? So stop looking at me and maybe, sit a little bit away from the computer or stand and start paying attention to your own body. Take some deep breaths, wiggle around a little, look at yourself, touch your skin, touch your clothes, say hello. Get re-familiar with the person that's holding up the brain that's staring at the screen. And go ahead and turn your camera, press the button that makes it point towards you, so you're looking at your face. And go ahead and take a little selfie of yourself. You don't have to do anything in particular with your expression. And we'll just stay with taking some pictures of your face starting off, but start moving the camera in close to yourself and far away from yourself, and taking pictures, really paying attention to that square or rectangle that frames you and how that can help you make interesting shapes. So I just took one where I was kind of photographing the space behind me, but it was framed by my shoulder and my head. Right. See how close up you can get.
Good one.
If we were to do this for an hour, you could get, dozens of selfies that were all really different in terms of how the image is composed. So you can go up over your head, to the back of your head, your ear.
Oh, I get a good one.
Challenge yourself to get points of view and scales and formats that just feel different than the one before. If you get self-conscious taking selfies, make some intentionally ugly ones. You can even shake your camera or move your head and try to get some really blurry ones. You can focus on the texture of your hair or your iris. Just experiment and let it be the very fluid medium that it is. And as you're playing, you can start to move to other parts of your body and the relationship of your clothes to your body.
Mm-hmm.
With perspective and zooming in and zooming out, you can get some interesting abstractions.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us haven't really spent a lot of time doing selfies of our feet, but now is a good opportunity.
Oh, I always do that.
You always do that?
I always take feet shots, like when you're on vacation, you know, or my shoes.
Right.
Love it. Got my fuzzy socks.
And you can play with depth of field. Like, you know, I just got my foot in focus in the foreground, which kind of put my head in a blurry state in the background.
How do you do that? Do you just...
You can click on your screen on the thing you want to focus on.
Okay.
Sometimes it doesn't work. The thing in the foreground has to be pretty close in the foreground for it to establish that depth of field where it suddenly becomes in focus while the background is out of focus. So you have to experiment with it.
Okay.
It's a little finicky.
I think when I press on it, it puts the light thing in the middle.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the light thing too. Wait, how do you flip it from light to focus? There's a way to do that.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's try this. Oh.
And you can play with filters as well. You don't have to not play with filters. In fact, I'm encouraging myself to now because I don't usually. So, and I'm noticing the light coming in my window does some really interesting things behind me, especially with some filters. So you can also relate, you know, let your images relate to the light around you and the color around you in the room. And you can start to move around if you want to and find other things that your body and face can relate to as you're taking images. How many things can you do to create abstraction?
With your body?
Yeah, with your body, with the camera.
Okay.
With the rectangle. And by the way, if you're just having fun, and you're into something and I say a prompt, you don't have to stop what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, just follow your creative process. Tune out my voice accordingly if that's helpful. We'll just take a couple more minutes on this little warm up. Okay, before we finish this, give yourself a period of 10 or 15 seconds where you're just photographing continuously and moving a lot. Moving your body, moving the phone. And so we're focusing way more on the process than what we're seeing on the camera. There's going to be some surprises that come out of this. Okay. One thing I want to say, you can keep going if you want. One thing I want to say that I didn't say at the beginning is one of the points of today is to go for quantity, not quality. We're going for, a situation where tomorrow we look back through our big collection of photos that we took today and we might see hundreds and we might throw away 99% of it, but that other 1% is like, whoa, something happened, right? So we're letting these individual photos not be precious at all. All right, how was that? Did you have fun?
Yeah.
All right, so now we'll move away from photographing ourselves, and I think what I'll just have you do is stay in the room that you're in, but you can take some time, bringing things. Actually, you don't have to stay in the room that you're in, as long as you can still hear me. Your range is my voice and the volume of your thing. I want you to start doing a similar thing with the environment that you're in. So you can start by focusing on an object or objects and start to, as you approach an object, intend to create multiple images of the object that all look really different from each other. So force yourself to get down low, get up high, get in close, crop it in interesting ways, do weird things with light, just kind of let yourself explore objects. And as you start to kind of wear out some of those possibilities with these objects, start focusing not on objects at all, but spaces, corners, shadows, just kind of the more abstract and maybe organic or geometric aspects of your space. But really focus on what can you do with your body, with how you're holding the camera that is different than what you're habitually drawn to, which is for most of us an eye level view. And, 2 feet away from the coffee cup on the table view. We tend to start with how we orient with our bodies normally. And so this is about breaking out of how you usually orient with your eyes and your body and use the eye of the camera, and imagine that it's an ant, that it's a satellite, that it's an elephant, that it's, air itself, and just just re-explore your space and the objects in it for a while. And with this one, let's try me not talking continuously. Let's just do that for 5 minutes or so, and I'll call you back, okay? Oh, but one last thing I want to say, if you have any questions like, does this assignment include this? Can I do this? Can I do this? The answer is always yes. I'm back, but you can keep going as long as you want. You want to report from the field, Joanna?
Sure. I started to get to play with little passageways.
Mm.
So just like the crack between my door and my bedroom door and the living room, like the space between the paintings and all the things on my altar, and then through the glasses that I have, because usually I just photograph them like this, but I turn them on their side. So I just, after a few minutes of just sort of taking pictures, I started to do it of that. And I have skylights everywhere in this house. And I'm always trying to not get the glare.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, let me just get all the glare.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
The glare is actually really stunning on you right now. It's like
I was just gonna say
in your head. It's like the light of God.
Just a beam. Yeah. It's just like your Pinterest boards.
It happens a lot in this house. Sometimes the lighting's amazing.
That's really great.
Sometimes it's very dark, very suddenly, and I'm like, oh, I have no lights on.
I love that it started with more mundane or expected stuff, and then you found this way of looking at the world, like through the little cracks and the spaces in between the little passages. That's great.
That's really fun.
I love that. What about you, Kathy? Or you, LaDawn? What did you discover or struggle with?
Funny, I started with the same. I started with like the spaces in between everything. So, and then I started experimenting with the glasses, like looking through the glasses from, the stem side versus the And then started looking at curved surfaces. That I have a ball and some sculptures that so experimenting with that.
Cool.
I'm in a I'm in a conference room, so to find something remotely even intriguing was literally a Kleenex box that has. I'll show it to you. Like, it's the only thing that actually has some color in it. However, in the discovery of the, with the pictures, it's interesting because what I'm seeing is actually some reoccurring attraction to the same sort of composition or whatever that is that partly came up when I was making my Pinterest board. So, which is very interesting. It's like kind of like what I'm drawn to is echoing a little bit, which is maybe good news or maybe bad news or maybe whatever news. Who knows? But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I would just claim everything is good news. Everything's good news. It's fun to discover, the voice or the point of view that you have, like what you're drawn to is really good information. And then you can break out of it. It makes it also easier to break out of it once you know to look for it. But being within it and going deep into it is also really great. So.
Yeah, and it's also just really, it's a great reminder that there's really no mundane object or there's no mundaneness really once, the play is in one's mind. So
that's right.
That reminder.
Right. Yeah, I struggled at first, which is funny because when you're the teacher, you're like, oh shit, I gave them a boring assignment. I should have made it more, because I'm at a friend's house. It's very clean. It's very new. It's not my stuff. And I started struggling. And then, and I took a bunch of images just thinking, oh God, this is, the corner of an IKEA table against like a piece of Formica counter. And then I want to look at my pictures here. I ended up having this incredible romance with a cheese puff. There's this like big container of cheese puffs. It's huge, actually. Big container of cheese puffs. And I took out a cheese puff and put it on a windowsill, and it just ignited with sunlight. And I put it on top of a green trash bin that was full of light, and the green and orange glowing was happening. And then I was, it's like the switch happens where suddenly I'm in like activated space. And then everything, the grape on the countertop became a moon, and, everything just started getting really alive. So that was really fun. And I started looking through glasses and things like that too, which is a good segue. And through the cheese, I did a lot of photos through this thing too. This is a good segue into the next one, to the next assignment, which is a continuation of what you've started doing what you've started doing, but I call this Magic Lab. So with Magic Lab, you can work with whatever elemental or atmospheric conditions you can find or create. So I'm just going to list some for you. And LaDon, we can get creative about your space because I have some ideas about those tissues and how you might use them. So working with reflection, right, which could be in tiny things or in large things, which some of us started doing already. Working with how glass or plastic distorts view. What kinds of things can you put in front of the camera lens that starts to distort it, whether that's like something furry around the edges or plastic wrap or aluminum foil or tissue or fabric, lace, prisms or crystals or, chandelier, glass, marbles, things like that. But also smoke, if you can do that safely. Different kinds of liquids in containers, like letting your experiments now become very abstract and just kind of about color and texture and whatever strange stuff emerges. And remember, you can keep using your bodies. So remember, Ladan, like, it sounds like you're one of the most interesting things in the room there. You and these tissues. I just pictured you like sucking the tissue against your face.
That's kind of interesting.
And like, you know, right, exactly.
Oh my God, it's infinite with those tissues.
It's infinite what you can do with tissues. I don't know what your, you know, other people around the building will think, but if it's private, go for it. Or your hair. You have long hair, so if you let your hair out and start, there's more texture and color. So, but also the more subtle stuff about light and shadow and reflection, and that you can play with. Things that are in your bag, even things that you could hold in front of the light of your laptop monitor. So Magic Lab is all about creating illusion and spectacle and abstraction with things that you might not think, like, even if you go looking for reflection, suddenly you see it in the faucet and the spoon and you start to see it kind of everywhere, and you can start to play with it. And again, filters if you want, weird play with light and focus. And so go do a magic lab, go be a magician and find those strange moments. And again, move the camera, take lots and lots of pictures, and just let it be really open. Come back in 5 or 10.
Okay. I have a very reflective surface here.
Great.
The glass table.
We have mirrors too.
Oh wow, this is cool. Oh, cool. Oh my God. Okay.
Any discoveries, Kathy?
Yeah, I did some interesting things. I have a water pitcher, and there was condensation on the inside of it that was really fun. And then I had some pot lids that were just mirrors, but I mean they were interesting because they're round and there was a rack in the middle, so it kind of hid my face. In the selfie mode. So that was, and I had my arms extended, so I was able to create some really interesting self-portraits that I thought was super fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I had fun too. I discovered that they have a lot of artwork under glass in this house. And so I was finding all these like images of artwork with reflections of the windows behind me and my face, and getting like all this color and pattern from the images, and along with the reflected imagery. So I got a bunch of really interesting abstractions that benefit from the artists that made the original images as well.
Are you house sitting or something, or you're not?
My friends who live in the neighborhood are away for the summer, so they're Airbnb-ing their house for the summer. So myself and another friend are taking turns kind of flipping it between guests.
Okay.
But this flip, I have like 4 days to do it, and I haven't been sleeping that well, so I decided, because both my cat and my kid are prone to waking me up in the night right now. I decided to come over here today and take naps and work and go to bed early here tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, that's lovely that you have that option, or convenient.
Yes. Yeah, it's good. Joanna, did you have any Magic Lab discoveries?
I was taking some pictures through glasses, even a little more, and that was really fun. And I had tried this experiment. It didn't quite work because the balloons I had weren't clear enough. But I had this idea of putting things inside balloons with water, because I did it with my niece and nephew. We were making like little squeezy balls. And there were beads in it. It was so cool. But the balloons I have just don't quite work. So one of them I had filled with glitter glue. So I glitter glue in a cup and took pictures with that and all the different lights, and then I poured most of it out, and like that was just super fun.
Yay. That's great.
That's
really great. I just love this because now, I'm sure this is true for you too. My camera is full of all these images that didn't exist before.
Yeah.
That is just really strange and unusual, and that I never would have thought to make, looking at them now. But these ones with the paintings, I wonder if I can even show you. It'll be good for us to post these in the group later. See if you can see this. Sort of. It's like painted colors and windows. Now there's a reflection on my screen too. Yeah, just, I love that. I love my pictures. I want to show you. So again, doing this, I think, is part of why I think it's important to do things like this and just have it be really open-ended, is that as we each get clearer about how we want our brand imagery to be, we've already been exercising this muscle that lets us kind of fluidly go in between like subject and form. What we've been playing with today is just form, like all the different ways that reality is surprising and fluid and, multiple in nature. And so when or if subject matter becomes important, we have all these ways to approach it and to do visual branding and visual image making that's completely unique in our own voice and our own vision, and available to us even when we're sitting in a conference room, which I love. I love that LaDawn noticed things from her Pinterest board from what she was doing in the conference room. That's so great. Okay, so there are many other things that we could do at this point. I'm going to list 2 of them and send you off again. We usually do this for an hour and a half. You can do this as long as you want. You can do this all day, or you can be done now, whatever makes sense for you, but I'll be here for an hour and a half. And the 2 other prompts I'll send you off with this time, one is about shadow and silhouette. So using window and using lights to play with silhouette. silhouetting forms and the other weird things that happen when light is coming behind and through something. And also the shadow puppetry idea. And Joanna, you kicked us off well with that one, playing with the saucy lady shadow in your diorama. But how can we create other beautiful magic tricks and stories with the shadows and the lights that we have around us and that we can create around us? So go into a dark closet with a flashlight, go by a bright window, go outside, go inside cabinets, just start to play with that world, that in-between world. And then the other thought I had was frames within frames. So can you look for and notice the rectangles and window shapes and holes and places where you can see through one scene into another scene, and just play with that way of thinking and seeing. And you can even, where is it? Like I cut my bill here from the gas company this morning and was thinking I could play with that like as a viewfinder.
Oh, fun.
So you can create windows and doors and openings, and you can find them, and you can do them at any scale. You know, and it makes me think of like painters who use that device of like a painting within a painting. When you see a painting inside a painting or a scene outside a window through a painting. So those kind of layers of story. So silhouettes, shadows, and frames are three potential places that you could go. And I bet you have other potential places you could go based on clues that you got in the first few prompts as you discovered things. So play a little more, and then we can report back after.
Okay.
Okay.
Windows and shadows.
Windows, shadows, frames, silhouettes. Yeah.
Okay.
Or whatever else happens. Follow what's interesting. Hey, Kathy. I started petering out. I think an hour was my limit, my creativity limit today. You're muted. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So is the purpose of this just to get our minds in, just start opening up the channels of creativity and ideas?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And to remind us, I want us to remember back to these kinds of assignments when we get into the more nitty gritty of crafting our brands.
Uh-huh.
And have, particular stories or ideas or, particular content that we want to get across.
Okay.
So we remember how much, how important it is to have a process where the visual images can kind of find us when we set up conditions that allow them to happen.
Okay.
So we can insert more sort of specific brand agendas into these kinds of processes and still let the images guide us towards something that's more interesting than the stuff that we try to control.
Okay.
So this is kind of like today is really about the kinds of ways of approaching the practice and the process as we get more and more sort of focused on our agendas as we go. Yeah. And everyone gets to jump around in the process. So like, say you were needing to promote something for your business next week, you could totally use these kinds of things and put like objects and words and images into it that were really specific to something you're looking for, but let the process be fresh like it was today.
Okay.
Yeah. How was this last little stretch for you, Joanna?
It was hard at first. My house is a big, giant mess, and so that suddenly that's all I was seeing.
Yeah.
And I remembered that I have this star thing that projects stars of different colors everywhere.
Oh, cool!
Nice.
And so I locked myself in the closet. There's no there, and it has all these different colors, and I put, it's the closet, and it was on my little shelf, so something fell on top of it, and that was so cool because suddenly there was patterns within the patterns.
Nice.
So then I was throwing more things on it and taking selfies with it, and I want to put it in my diorama so badly. I can't believe I didn't. I mean, I use this almost every night. Just didn't even think about it.
Perfect.
So excited about that.
That's great. That's great. I ran out of steam. I realized these guided creative ones maybe should be an hour, like boom, boom, boom. Although it worked, you got something good in this last little half hour. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage you both to post images in the group if you would like to. I might actually just take little screenshots of my iPhone photo gallery just to show select collections of images, since it's really about process rather than product. Whatever feels fun for you, you're welcome to do that. And we will do this again, and the next one has to do with working with papers and collage materials. So you'll get more detailed instructions about that.
Okay. When's the next one?
Next one is on Friday at noon Eastern.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Friday at noon Eastern, yeah.
Is it possible to change, I know this is is it possible to change the email address that the notifications go to?
For you?
Yeah.
Yes, if we do it right at this very moment.
Okay.
And Joanna, you can go if you want to, because now we're going to be doing this email.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Unless you want to watch me be in ConvertKit.
I want to go look at my pictures. I haven't seen them yet. See you on Friday.
See you on Friday.
So it's Kathy Low Rocks, KATHYLOROX.
Wait, let me find you in here.
Okay. So try and put that on my calendar.
Oh, okay. All right, let's see.
Yeah, LOEW. It's a little tricky to spell.
I have, the one I have for you now is the Kathy Lowenstern@hotmail.com.
Yeah, and that's more like my purchasing one when I purchase things. So,
okay. So Kathy, and keep spelling that for me.
Yeah, so KATHY.
Yep.
LOROX.
At
Gmail.
Update subscriber, syndicate founding member. Okay. you're all set. You should be getting it to that email address now.
Okay, perfect.
Yay. All right.
Okay, well, have a wonderful day and get some sleep.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.